decades, it's occupied a unique space in the American living room.
Pause again, Joan.
Okay, keep bringing the good stuff.
But this morning, TV shopping channels QVC and HSN are hitting tough times. The parent company of both filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, leaving the future of the beloved 24-hour channels in jeopardy. Since the 80s, viewers have been tuning in, not just for the products, but for the people.
I watch it for free.
Yeah, you put this on and then you do what you want to do. Because all you have to do is really do this. These clothes look great.
From Liza Minnelli to Jamie Foxx.
You know what? One of the models
Best model in town.
didn't make it today, so I just have to.
That's right, Jay.
I left it
There, work it.
to Joan Rivers.
And now, who's our model? Move up, please. Come up. Voila!
But the real stars were the callers.
Do you think I'm on the phone?
It was one of the only ways that people were able to watch TV and shop at the same time. This was so innovative 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago.
But the channels have struggled to keep up with the times. The shoppers now spending more time on their phones than in front of TVs.
Most retail stores have a presence on TikTok or Meta, Instagram, and they partner with shopping apps. QVC really hasn't done a lot of that modernizing.
TV shopping isn't going away, it's evolving. In 2024, Netflix teamed up with Google Lens to allow viewers to scan products on the hit show Emily in Paris. And last year, Amazon introduced Shop the Show, a section of their website dedicated to products seen during their shows.
Television retail in the newest evolution means you'll be watching a television show, you see a skirt that you like, and you can pause and that skirt's price will come up and you can immediately buy it with your phone.
QVC says there are no plans for layoffs. It's aiming to emerge from bankruptcy in the next 3 months.
With farm
Wow.
farming, you can trust that Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
That sucks. QVC's. I feel sorry for QVC.
Canada and the United States share the longest, straightest, possibly boringest border in the world, but look closer and there's plenty of bizarreness to be found. While these sisters...
What the hell?
A Tempe Wells Fargo employee died at her desk. And 12 News is now confirming that it may have taken as many as 4 days for anyone in the office to notice. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Patty Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. It's a story we first reported yesterday. Tonight, Tempe police are confirming the timeline when the woman clocked in to when her colleagues found the body. 12 News journalist Gabriela Vaquera is in the studio with new details tonight. Gabby, 4 days. I mean, this poor woman went 4 days undiscovered. It's hard to believe.
And that's a question many employees are asking themselves tonight. I spoke with an employee who said that she shared her perspective on the workplace environment, and they say it's a big building, but most people don't work there on a daily basis.
A Wells Fargo employee went to work the morning of Friday, August 16th and never went home. Tempe police tell 12 News 60-year-old Denise Prudhomme scanned into work at 7 o'clock in the morning. 4 days later, police responded to the office building near Washington Street and Priest Drive for reports of a subject down. Prudhomme was declared dead. The Tempe Police Criminal Investigation Bureau is investigating, but do not suspect foul play. A Wells Fargo employee exclusively spoke with 12 News, but asked not to be reported or identified out of fear for their job. They say a colleague found Prudhomme dead at her desk in a cubicle while walking around the building on Tuesday, August 20th. Prudhomme's cubicle was reportedly on the 3rd floor and away from the main aisle. This employee says several people had smelled a foul odor, but passed it off as faulty plumbing. They say while most Wells Fargo employees at this Tempe location work remote, the building has 24/7 security, and someone should have found Prudhomme sooner. The incident left several employees feeling scared and uneasy. This employee wants to see new safety protocols in place, telling me, quote, "It's negligence in some part." A different worker also spoke with 12 News anonymously.
Was just uncomfortable.
Again, calling on the company to do more.
Body was there about 4 days before anybody found it, before anybody walked up to her. And
just to say hi, make sure she's okay. She was just laying on her desk. A Wells Fargo spokesperson previously sent 12 News a statement saying, in part, "We are deeply saddened by the tragic loss of our colleague at our Tempe office," adding counselors through our employee assistance consulting service are available to support employees. An employee tells me their direct management offered those services, addressed the incident, and told workers the building was thoroughly cleaned.
And a Wells Fargo spokesperson did not have new information to share with me tonight. The Maricopa County Medical Examiner is investigating the cause of death. In studio, Gabriella Becerra, 12 News.
All right, Gabby, thank you.
Wow.
At Michigan.
That's surprising.
Now, you might remember a show called Pimp My Ride. Well, it turns out they made a game.
Yeah, I played the
You
game
might remember a show
before my
called
channel
Pimp
existed.
My Ride. Well, it turns out they made a game of it. I didn't know it existed. I found it while I was scrolling through PSP ROMs, and it's probably the worst game I've ever played. Now, normally when I come across something like this, I'd say I'm shocked this exists, but I'm just not. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this absolute wreck of a game.
Well, I played 3 games and that's
The
it.
premise of this game is arguably the stupidest I've ever heard. The whole game takes place in Pimp City.
It's my city. It's called Pimp City. And Pimp City's pretty tight.
It's literally an entire city dedicated to pimping cars. How the fuck an entire city's economy runs off pimping cars, I'm not sure, but somehow it does. Also, can I just add that the opening scene has exhibits saying that Pimp City is full of different people driving different cars. However, when you start the game, there's one car model for every single car. Anyway, Exhibit wants the player to set up in Pimp City.
It's easy to tell you how the most challenge city around.
What do you mean? It's called Pimp City. How can it be automotively challenged? It's got pimping in the name. You'd think a place called Pimp City would be full of exotic cars or prostitutes, but in this case cars. However, it's filled with neither. All the cars are shit and they need your help. Pimp City, everybody. Also, Exhibit tells us in the opening cutscene that anytime we pimp a ride, the rival shops are going to buy the same car and try to steal our business and out-pimp us.
Every time you get your hands on a customer's ride, the local barbber shop also will get their hands on the same ride.
But the cars on the show are free. And even in the game, you have to make the money for the contestants. They don't pay for it. So the other shops are spending more money than you do because they have to buy the same car only to give it away for free or not give it away at all if you win. Also, for some reason, after you pimp someone's car, you get access to their car. So what, they give it to you, or the shop made an exact copy, paying double the price of a car they gave away for free so they can give you an identical car. So the actual gameplay starts by giving you a selection of people you can choose from. They all have various budgets, and of course you can pimp their cars. And going to be honest, I didn't really remember any of them. They all have super generic interests, and you should apparently use these to pimp their cars. But as far as I'm aware, they have no actual impact on the game. But more on that later. After this, you enter a phase of the game called the cash road, where you drive around the city and get enough money to pimp the contestants' cars. But before I get onto this, I want to mention the car handling in this game. Oh my god, it's some of the worst I've ever experienced. I think it's the worst, hands down. I dare you to try and find a game where the cars handle worse than this. How the fuck they managed to make it this bad is beyond me. It's like if I put office chair wheels on my house and drove it around. You'd think in a game where you spend 99% of your time driving around that they'd make the driving mechanics good, but no. I literally cannot express how badly the cars handle in this game. Going in a straight line or driving like a normal human being doesn't seem to exist in Pimp City because it's impossible to go anywhere without crashing several times. Anyway, with that out of the way, I'll get on to how you actually make money in this game. There's 5 ways, but technically only 4. The first way is money tokens. These are littered around the city, there's like 5 of them, and you get such a small amount of money from them, they're completely useless. The next way is to holler at crowds. Basically, you drive extremely slowly past a group of identical NPCs, do a quick time event, and then get given thousands of dollars. How this works, I'm not sure. What exactly I did that was so impressive, I'm not sure either. I just drove past him and did nothing. The next method of making money is called hot stepping, which is a button pressing game where you dance next to your car, and if you hit the buttons at the right time, you get given money. Then you have ghost riding, which is a button pressing game where you dance next to your car, and if you hit the buttons at the right time, you get given money. They're literally the same thing. It doesn't matter that the game has a different name for them. You do the same thing in both activities. The only real difference is where the bar is, and that's it. You cannot call them different things. If you could, then making games would be the easiest shit in the world. And again, just like when you holler people, why are they paying $7,000 to watch a man dance very averagely by his slow-moving car? However, the final way of making money cannot be explained. You have to round civilians and then gold coin shootout. Remember that part of Pimp My Ride? When Exhibit took the rides back to West Coast Customs, but on his way, plowed down the entire population of the city? I'm sure the contestants don't appreciate it because you used their cars. Who thought that was a good idea? Getting money from vehicular homicide. What's more, you don't even get that much money from it. It gives you even less money than the already useless money tokens. You can't actually kill people on foot either, but you can do this. As if that wouldn't kill somebody. So after you've killed enough innocent people, you have to go and meet the contestants. There is so much wrong here. Aside from the fact that character models make my skin crawl, I know this is PSP, but it still looks like arse. Exhibit's consistently dead expression is especially unnerving. He just fucking stands there and nods his head the whole time. It's so weird, so creepy. One thing that bothers me is whenever a contestant hands over their keys, it's always broken, but in a different way. Sometimes it goes into X's hand. Sometimes it teleports away from his hand, and sometimes it floats above his hand. Why not have the same animation for all of them? You know, so it looks half decent. They weren't afraid of using the same exact character models, or the same exact car models, or the same minigame twice with a different name. But no, the key part, that has to have variation. So finally we get to the main part of the game, the pimping part, which unsurprisingly is the single worst part of the entire game, because for some reason the people who made this thought, this needs a time limit. Why on earth would a Pimp My Ride game need a time limit? Especially ones that are so strict, you barely...
Mark Zuckerberg has enough money to buy a brand new Lamborghini every single day for the rest of his entire life and still have billions of dollars left over. So why does he choose to drive a Honda Fit? Well, according to him, it's safe, comfortable.
Embarrassing story, but my car broke down.
I don't care. You drive a crap box.
Mark Zuckerberg has enough money to buy a brand new Lamborghini every single day for the rest of his entire life and still have billions of dollars left over. So why does he choose to drive a Honda Fit? Well, according to him, it's safe, comfortable, and not too showy. The second car is a $1.4 million Pagani Huayra S tier. Ken Griffin, founder of the sexiest hedge fund of all time, Citadel, once spent $200 million on this interesting assortment of paint. Given Kenneth's track record of buying things that are overpriced thanks to sentimental value, you might think that he drives a Mark IV Supra or maybe an old BMW. No, my boy Kenneth drives an almighty LaFerrari.
This is a LaFerrari.
Those are hard to get.
Rousing curves,
Those are hard to get your hands on.
erotic V12 engine,
And you can't drive it.
and salacious quarter-mile time of 9.7 seconds. The LaFerrari is an absolute beast. Ken Griffin seems like the type of guy that would buy a LaFerrari and just keep it in his garage because he's scared of depreciation. So
LaFerraris are hard to get your hands on.
It's worth $1.4 billion thanks to her music and cosmetic line. And her car collection is magical. She has multiple Porsches, an Aventador, a Maybach, a Chevy Suburban, and a legendary Mercedes SLR McLaren. Fun fact, this super rare car is also owned by former billionaire Kanye West.
Hey, good morning, Kanye.
Solid A tier. Michael Bloomberg drives a Chevy Suburban. Jack Ma, former CEO of Alibaba, drives a Chevy Blazer that he bought from Alibaba. The richest rapper of all time, Jay-Z, has a godlike automotive collection, but his coolest car has to be his $8 million Maybach Accelero, a one-of-a-kind high-performance vehicle that was originally built to test the limits of Fulda's Accelero tire model.
Totally a Mercedes.
Car, but for $8 million, I would rather just buy the state of Wisconsin. I think it's too expensive. Say B tier. Steve Ballmer is worth $70 million and drives a Ford Fusion hybrid. This car was hand delivered to him by the Ford CEO.
When did this come out?
This is a solid D tier. Steve Jobs,
3 days ago.
former CEO of Apple, which is currently the
3 years ago.
highest value company in the entire world.
He's dead.
His car buying habits are the most unique on this list. Steve Jobs leased a brand new SL55 AMG every 6 months due to a loophole in California law that allowed him to legally drive without a license plate. To quote F. Scott Fitzgerald, let me tell you about the very rich. They are different from you and me. Not a super interesting car, but I respect the commitment. B tier. According to Google, the highest net worth in the entire world is $170 billion. But what if I told you that there exists a trillionaire?
I had 100 million by come out 31, 42. I became a trillionaire by recently.
Trillionaire meaning 1,000 billion.
Correct.
Andrew Tate, the top G, takes great pride in his collection of properties, firearms, and last but not least, supercars, with his most infamous ride undoubtedly being his Bugatti Chiron. Costing $3 million, only 500 Chirons were produced, making Top G the owner of a truly special vehicle.
What color is your Bugatti?
Black.
My positioning of Andrew Tate's Bugatti Chiron on this tier list is not indicative of my opinions on his worldviews and previous actions. I just don't believe a big showy lifestyle is appropriate. Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, believed in frugality. In 1979, Sam bought a Ford F-150, which is currently on display in the Walmart Museum. Touching the truck's handle is rumored to bestow upon you the gift of frugality. There's some decent lore behind this truck, so I'd say B tier. Larry Page is the co-founder of Google. He once said, if you're not doing some things that are crazy, then you're doing the wrong things. This is a quote that he lives by, as having an $86 billion net worth and choosing to drive a Toyota Prius is indeed crazy. D tier. Kim Kardashian has a $3.8 million car collection. For Christmas in 2020, her former husband Kanye West bought her 5 Maybachs.
On the Maybach. Y'all got the Maybach up on the Maybach?
Kim calls her Maybach S580 her favorite baby ever. She also has an Urus with a Mansory wide body kit and one-off wheels. But her most universally loved car has to be her fabric-wrapped Lamborghini.
Okay, you guys, my new ride is here.
Why do you screw a Lambo up for?
Car enthusiasts were inspired and amazed at such a tasteful addition to the $200,000 car.
Yeah, please.
Sam Bankman-Fried was the founder of FTX, the infamous crypto exchange that went absolutely bankrupt, and is the only person on this list who has become a millionaire twice. But let's focus on this version of Sam, when his net worth was $26 billion. He famously drove a Toyota Corolla, and everyone marveled at his humbleness and altruism.
You trust the guy more when you see the car he drives.
He's brilliant, and I trust him and I like him.
He doesn't even have windows.
The guy you see next to me is the most generous billionaire.
Everyone except for the top G.
When I know people with lots of money and they sit there and they want to drive an old Toyota Corolla, these people are always fucking weirdos.
What color is your SEC violation? The Toyota Corolla is actually pretty decent. I'd say C tier. Despite his $100 billion net worth, Warren Buffett is a very frugal young man. Buffett even eats McDonald's on a daily basis.
The market is down, like just 2 sausage patties. If the market's flat, sausage McMuffin. The market's up, bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit.
After hearing about his quirky eating habits, I was a bit disappointed to find that Warren Buffett drives the most boring, mediocre rich person car I've ever seen in my entire life. A Cadillac XTS.
That's not boring.
Car, but Warren Buffett is a legend, so B tier.
Hello.
I'm Bill Gates, chairman of Microsoft.
Bill Gates bought a Porsche Turbo in 1979, and a few speeding tickets later, he realized that he needed more power. So he bought a Porsche 959, the world's fastest street-legal production car at the time. It was one of the first high-performance cars with all-wheel drive and pulled 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. The 959 debuted for around $600,000. Now, they're seven figures. William Henry Gates III gets a solid A tier. Rich person number 15.
Elon Musk.
A large
Tesla.
variety of vehicles, from a Ford Model T to a modified BMW M5. What is most iconic?
Wait.
William Henry Gates III gets a solid A tier.
Elon Musk.
Person number 15 has driven a large variety of vehicles, from a Ford Model T to a modified BMW M5. What his most iconic ride was undoubtedly his $1 million ultra-rare McLaren F1. The 62 McLaren. Emphasis on the word was. One day, Elon was driving to an investor meeting for his little tech company, PayPal. His co-founder, Peter Thiel, was in one of the passenger seats. While they were driving along the open Californian roads, Peter turned to Elon and said, "I'd like to see what this car can do." Then, in an act of ultimate badassery, Elon turned to Peter, said, "Watch this," and crashed into an embankment. This F1 is an amazing car, and it has some extensive lore, so I'd say S tier.
You yourself are worth somewhere in the vicinity of $9 or $10 billion today. I only say that because I've got a follow-up question. Okay, what's with the husband? This is a perfectly good car.
This clip made me love Jeff, even without having met him. This just proves that materialistic things aren't necessarily needed to obtain happiness. It's nice to see billionaires that want to be normal people. You don't need a fancy house or a nice car. Jeffrey Preston Bezos.
Mr. Amazon.
Once drove a 1997 Honda Accord. 20 years later, his car collection is now valued at over $20 million. Luxury and excess are generally frowned upon. But let's be honest, if you had all the money in the world...
Okay, that's enough of that crap. Mr. Bezos, who owns Amazon?
You're at a house. It's not my house. It's a staged house.
And the contestants' houses weren't the only thing Pimp My Ride lied about.
Sick of illegal immigrants stealing your tax dollars? That's why Michigan needs Mike Cox as governor. Mike Cox will do state government to root out the waste, fraud, and abuse. Mike Cox for governor.
I know why they went to a stage house for. Safety reasons.
What about self?
I don't care,
You're
Agent.
at a house. It's not my house. It's a staged house.
And
Makes
the
sense.
contestants'
Safety.
houses weren't the only thing Pimp My Ride lied about. The reactions were staged and retaken multiple times. Certain upgrades were taken off as soon as the cameras cut.
It's for a boat because it's a GPS for waterways. It will not work in your car.
And disappointingly, even Exhibit himself had no real interest in cars.
Soccer moms coming up to me, telling me about their husband and their car that he had since the 60s. And I was like, stop talking to me about this. I know as much as you do.
When asked if the show was fake, a former contestant replied with a single word, correct, which isn't surprising as the show even lied about who the contestants were. For example, in season 2, episode 10, Brooke was introduced as a 22-year-old film lover working hard to go to grad school, which had been fabricated by the producers as she was actually a 25-year-old cocktail waitress planning to move back to New York. The reason for this, as explained by Jake from season 3, was because Pimp My Ride only picked people in their early 20s.
There was a strict age limit of 22 years old.
Confirming that the show was lying about contestants' details before filming had even started. In the first 30 seconds of each episode, Exhibit emphasizes that each contestant doesn't know they're about to get picked.
He has no idea. I'm about to pimp his brother.
Yet this was strange as the contestant always answered the door, always had a microphone on them, and even had their windows blacked out as if they didn't want cameras seeing inside. Well, it turns out Brooke, the supposed 22-year-old film lover, had been pre-selected by a friend to appear on the show, and as a result she'd stay when Exhibit showed up at my house to tell me I'd been chosen, not a surprise. What was a surprise was when the producers has made me react and then react again to Exhibit showing up, finally coercing me into doing a cartwheel, and she wasn't the only contestant who had this experience.
They push you on how to say it and what to say and everything like that.
The show didn't have an actual script, but they did steer the dialogue in a direction that they wanted. If I said something they liked, they would have me repeat it over and over on camera. This had been commented by Seth, who appeared in season 5, who was also well aware that Exhibit was coming to his house, stating, "They told me I was in the running for my own episode, but it was between me and 2 other people. When I was sitting in the house waiting for a knock at the door, they said that it was either going to be Exhibit or a producer telling me I didn't win. Thinking back on it, that was all bullshit, but it did make the surprise genuine, which was the same experience as Erin from season 4, episode 2.
She was one of 3 contestants. One of them would be chosen. Someone came and knocked at the door. If it was Exhibit, they won.
Each contestant was at least somewhat aware that they'd be getting a knock on the door because, well, the homes they were in were actually owned by Pimp My Ride. A Huffington Post article clarified these houses were oftentimes not the contestants' homes. Instead, each dwelling had been rented by MTV. For example, when Jake from season 3 was asked, did the film crew show up and stage the whole surprise as part of the episode, he'd respond by stating it wasn't my house. It was a place owned by one of the crew members. Similarly, Seth from season 5 stated, the house was rented from Craigslist because I lived in an apartment, and they need a house with a big open driveway for filming, which is certainly reasonable, although sometimes the house was part of the person's story. In season 2, for example, Eric's car had supposedly been beat up in the rough streets of Compton.
And Compton ain't no street like that.
However, judging from a quick look at Google Maps, it seems the episode was filmed in a much nicer neighborhood. So if Eric's story was inconsistent and Brooke's story from earlier was downright fabricated, then who else's stories were exaggerated for the sake of the show? Well, it seems pretty much all of them. In season 3, Jake's Buick had been bought from his grandma who smoked, and as a result, the show threw an extra few dozen cigarette butts in the car to make her just look like a totally disgusting person. On top of this, the show interviewed Jake's girlfriend toward the start of the episode, yet MTV apparently questioned me having a girlfriend and suggested I dump her because it was better for my desperate dude with a shit car image. A producer later responded by stating, why would we want a kid to break up with his girlfriend? How would that have helped the show? So while Jake's claim about his girlfriend was somewhat questionable, the cigarette story was confirmed by Seth, who had a similar experience.
I want to make some money. Okay.
Need a look to go straight from work to The Devil Wears Prada 2 in theaters? Just ask Google for a fit that works for both. Yes, the devil's in the details.
Return the stolen Butterfingers. Or what?
This is the most dangerous elevator in the United States. It takes people single file up and down the first 20 floors of Chicago's Marina City. Some call this mechanism a guillotine. I think for pretty obvious reasons. One wrong step and limbs are lost, or worse. Despite that, this death-defying lift solved a challenging problem with a clever design that engineers are studying today to improve elevators everywhere. The building that this thing serves is part of a larger network of structures. They all work together to create what the architect called a city within a city. While the other buildings in the complex have elevators that serve floors with only one type of activity, like offices or theaters, this one, it serves 2. The top 45 floors are filled with pedal-shaped condominiums, while the first 20 are for parking. These aren't really separate floors. It's actually one continuous spiral ramp that coils up 20 stories. Imagine a 20-story parking garage as a single helical ribbon. The massive ramp allows a car to travel all the way up to one of the 450 parking spaces. Since walking back down that spiral isn't a good option, this mechanism is the only practical way that people can go up and down without a car. It's a tiny, continuously running lift to hop on and off when it's time. You see, the architect Bertrand Goldberg, he didn't want just anyone from the parking garage to gain entry into the private residential building. In fact, the parking floors are even owned by a completely different company today. So Goldberg figured valets would be parking these cars. That way, only employees would be going up and down in this lower section of the building.
But a conventional elevator would have been exceedingly slow. And to dedicate an entire elevator shaft in the middle of a building core for just this area would eliminate a critical pathway for connecting with the 450 units that are in the upper floors. So he proposed this. It works by driving a rubber-coated belt.
What Charles Carroll learned on the road in Duncan City, Georgia, isn't the What Charles Carroll learned on the road in Duncan City, Georgia, isn't the idea that all roads lead to Rome is ridiculous. He learned it from Lucius Duncan, who's a kind of road scholar.
We came to a country crossroads in Hull County, Georgia, and found it a very well-marked place. One side points the way to Flowery Branch, Gainesville, Lake Lanier, Dawsonville, and Fairbanks, Alaska. Oh, and that's not the only sign. Another, for example, shows I started collecting racism.
At 6, an employee at Burger King in Greece was caught pouring gallons of grease down a storm sewer.
Wish the doors would settle down. I've been waiting all summer. I would do what I want.
At 6, an employee at Burger King in Greece was caught pouring gallons of grease down a storm sewer. This is what a witness soaked up after it happened, and that sewer runs straight into a creek. The first call the witness made was the chief investigator Green, who was standing over the sewer drain.
The witness was parked at the drive-through window when he says he saw 2 employees carry out grease and oil pans, and he used his camera to capture them pouring it into that sewer.
Right over here is the sewer drain. You can obviously see now how much oil's splattered around the area.
Monday evening, Doug Bates took these pictures of a Burger King employee pouring the oil into the sewer. He returned Monday night.
There's all oil.
Then he used a handful of paper towel.
Let's take a look at this. But as he drove by right through here, you could just smell the nasty, dirty, used oil.
When I came here Tuesday, the DEC police and the spill response team were already here. And my video shows remnants caught in the grate.
The oil.
When I came here Tuesday, the DEC police and the spill response team were already here. And my video shows remnants caught in the grate. The DEC says it is against the law to pour restaurant oil on the street or into a sewer. Now, the sewer is on Top's property, but the problem is all those sewer lines run behind the property and into Patty Hill Creek. Oil and grease create what are called fat birds, which cause 90% of the blockages and cost New York City $18 million every year just to clean out. This Burger King at Mount Rain and Maiden Lane is part of a franchise called JSC Management. In an email they wrote, the actions taken by the employee were not consistent with our policies or procedures. The matter was addressed immediately. Appropriate corrective action has been taken, including discipline and retraining, and the procedures have been reinforced with the team. What did you think when you saw them do it?
I thought it was kind of just odd at first, and I was like working in the food service industry. I knew that it wasn't allowed, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to take some pictures of it, and I figured Berkeley would be a good one to look into it.
The owner of this Burger King restaurant says they have a holding tank, which works, but they said the employee just decided not to use them, and they said they take the situation very seriously. In Grace, Berkeley, Radio News 10, NBC.
The state DEC says 3 to 5 gallons of grease was dumped into the storm drain. As a precaution, they put a device that absorbs the grease where the sewer goes into the creek. The employee got a ticket for illegally dumping a substance that can injure fish in a public.
A
That's just ridiculous. It's stupid. Okay, we're done with that. Yeah, we're done with okay. We're done with that random junk.
A major earthquake hits off of the northwest coast. There's actually little that people can do then to avoid a tsunami.
But along the Washington coastline in Long Beach, a woman giving herself another option. She recently became the very first American to buy a tsunami survival capsule.
A tsunami pod?
That shows you how she plans to survive the worst case scenario.
8 years ago. A tsunami pod.
The beach. You ready to go?
It's where she lives, about an eighth of a mile from the ocean.
I live on a low sand spit on the coast of Washington.
That has Jeannie Johnson planning ahead.
This is my survival capsule for tsunami survival. Trixie, you want to come on?
Her newest investment, a peculiar 300-pound pot. To protect her and little Trixie if and when the unthinkable happens.
She knows that if the worst was to happen, she has somewhere safe to go.
Julian Sharp is president of Survival Capsule, a Puget Sound-based company that creates what it calls personal safety systems.
This is the seating arrangement for the 10-person capsule.
Plans are in the works to build them bigger.
If I was going to buy a capsule, I'd probably get a slightly larger one.
But this 2-person, 4.5-foot in diameter spherical pod is what Jeannie and the Japanese market have purchased from the company so far.
And then I'd have to get my helmet and put it on.
We're realizing that this kind of product is something that might become part of our everyday life if we decide to live on the ocean.
It makes people uncomfortable to think about dying. But I don't think about dying anymore. I think about having to get in here and lock the door.
Inside, she'll be strapped down, secure, and airtight safe from whatever forces of nature are churning and swirling outside.
It's a very, very robust structure.
EPIRB. That's the emitter for the Coast Guard and the Marine Band radio.
Along with a Marine Band radio, Jeannie's capsule carries fishing gear, flashing beacons, flares, a first aid trauma kit, and enough food and water.
There are 4 bladders of water. That's 40 liters of fresh water.
To last her 40 days. All well worth the effort and the cost. $13,500 for the base. Along with a Inside, she'll be strapped down, secure, and airtight safe from whatever forces of nature are churning and swirling outside.
It's a very, very robust structure.
EPIRB. That's the emitter for the Coast Guard and the Marine Band radio.
Along with a Marine Band radio, Jeannie's capsule carries fishing gear, flashing beacons, flares, a first aid trauma kit, and enough food and water.
There are 4 bladders of water. That's 40 liters of fresh water.
To last her 40 days. All well worth the effort and the cost. $13,500 for the basic capsule alone.
It's less than my Harley Davidson, and it's more than a golf cart.
A pittance to pay, she says, for peace of mind. Tim Becker.
It's like an insurance policy, I guess.
Coin 6 News.
What are the Europe?
I don't need one of those in Michigan because
Every week you can find Ann Antoletti on the move. Buzzing around the Diamond District.
Diamond District.
Yes.
Ooh, this would be fun to watch.
Yeah, this is going to take a minute to fill this thing up, so we'll go ahead and do that. There you go, $416, and it's now past midnight in the game. Oh, here's somebody else I read. Oh, the cop. Ooh, the other cop pulling somebody over. Damn. Well, it's busy over here, isn't it? Sure is. We're going to head into Harmony. Oh, well, not going to make that light. Let's turn green anyway. I don't think there's anybody following this. there's a cop coming for us. Definitely is a cop coming for us. Are they pulling me over? Nope, they're trying to get around me? Oh, they're pulling me over.
Right now at 5, a burden on New York City businesses, how a law about roll-down gates passed 17 years ago is coming back to haunt some owners. Good evening, I'm Christine Johnson. Welcome back, I'm Jessica Moore. Enforcement will soon begin on an obscure law passed in 2009 requiring a majority of businesses to replace those roll-down gates. But as Hannah Klieger reports from Southern Brooklyn, as this deadline approaches, businesses are scrambling to remain compliant.
Walking into Randy Goldstein's compact disc shop feels like a trip back to the 90s. He opened in 1992 and later expanded to house his insurance brokerage next door. That's also when he last replaced his metal roll-down gate.
Everybody that has regular gates has to change the gates in 2 months. Hello?
Starting July 1st, most gates like this will be out of compliance with city law.
5, 6 gates. It's got to cost me minimum 10 grand.
He's talking about Local Law 75, passed in 2009, which requires most roll-down security gates to be at least 70% transparent.
This would likely comply.
Randy Pierce, president of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, says it was an aesthetic and anti-graffiti measure. Last month, he wrote a letter to elected officials asking them to delay or repeal the law.
This is on top of increasing expenses that has led to more business closures in 2025 than business startups for the first time since COVID.
Yelena Mackman of the Brighton Beach Business Improvement District says the city hasn't done enough to inform owners.
Even before coming here, I asked these businesses, have you ever seen any fire? No.
Estimating only 12 to 15% of businesses in the area are compliant.
There are so many businesses closing their doors because constant competition with online shopping.
Eric Piker owns Eric's Health Food Shop, which has the proper gates, but worries about broken windows.
I'm afraid for my glass, actually, so I'm afraid that somebody's gonna just like poke and put something into it and just break it.
A spokesperson for the Department of Buildings says property owners had 17 years to replace the gates, but adds only City Council has the authority to change this law. If lawmakers propose an amendment, a spokesperson says we stand ready to implement any potential changes to the law that they approve.
And I am hearing that lawmakers are considering drafting legislation that would make some changes. So far, nothing introduced yet, but we will be following it and we'll keep you updated.
So Hannah, it sounds as though there was
that's not literally today.
communication issues between the business owners and the DOB. What are they telling you about enforcement? Why is it being done now?
That was actually written into the original law in 2009, saying that enforcement will begin on July 1st, 2026. So that's like nearly 17 years later. The goal, I think, was to kind of give business owners a chance to phase these old gates out.
It's expensive.
Right,
Yeah.
but it seems like that never happened.
And it seems like a very long timeline. It would be easy to imagine people would think, oh, I can do that later.
Yeah,
Right?
and the people who are following this probably even forgot that this was happening.
Well, if they even knew about it,
If
what
they
it
knew
sounds
about
like. Yeah. All right, Hannah, thank you.
Get ahead of lead. It's a new initiative to help families reduce lead in their drinking water. Here's what you can do. Use a lead-reducing water filter.
I don't care.